Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
Have you ever been doubted, betrayed, or underestimated, yet found yourself smiling anyway? What if that smile wasn't about ignoring the pain, but about mastering it? And what if the secret to becoming truly untouchable lies not in silence, but in purpose? They doubted your worth. Some betrayed your trust. Still, you smiled, not because the pain was gone, but because you chose strength over chaos, control over impulse. You faced the storm within and refused to let them steal your peace. While the world watched without knowing, you became untouchable, calm, composed, unstoppable. Soon, I'll show you how to practice the powerful art of acting as if nothing affects you. This isn't about suppressing emotions, but about mastering your reactions. Each morning, the power of definite purpose gives you a choice: rise with direction or rise without one. That difference, though silent to others, defines everything. A person may breathe, work, and move for decades, yet never truly live a single day without purpose. Without it, you're torn apart by life's noise, family expectations, workplace demands, and society's invisible leash dictating who you should be. But beneath all that noise is a quieter voice asking, what do you expect from yourself? The moment you answer with conviction, your life begins. Not in some dramatic scene, but in small, deliberate steps born from one decision. You stop being tossed by others' opinions. You stop reacting to life and start moving through it with intention. Purpose doesn't mean rushing or constant action. It means clarity, steadiness, and a reason for your steps that doesn't vanish when things get hard. There's something powerful, almost untouchable, about someone who knows why they are here. Distractions lose their grip. Delays no longer throw you off course. Doubt fades quietly into the background. You transform into a different kind of person when you decide to pursue one true goal instead of scattering yourself in 10 directions. You become aligned, focused, and powerful in the best way. So ask yourself, what are you truly building? Not a short-term win, not someone else's dream disguised as your own, but something real. Something that stretches you, costs you, shapes you. Something that, if achieved, would flood you with pride. Wouldn't you wake up with more clarity? Wouldn't the stress and noise shrink in comparison? Imagine walking into a room full of confusion and hesitation, yet feeling none of it. Not because you hold all the answers, but because you've made one decision that matters. The moment you say, "This is my path," you reclaim your power. You stop waiting for external validation. You stop asking life for permission to begin. You simply begin. But purpose demands courage. You must choose it, and that's what many avoid. They wait, hoping clarity will arrive on its own. It never will. Life doesn't assign you a mission. You assign one to yourself. Those who thrive are not always the most talented or the loudest. They are often the clearest. They see a mountain no one else notices and commit to climbing it, quietly, persistently, without applause. The question then becomes simple, even if the answer is not. Are you ready to live that way? To choose emotional fortitude over emotional reaction? Think back to the last time your emotions got the better of you. Maybe it was anger that spilled over in a conversation, or anxiety that pulled you away from something important. In that moment, who was truly in charge? Your vision or your reaction? Emotions are powerful, no doubt, but when left unchecked, they don't build. They break. They scatter your energy, disrupt your direction, and leave regret where progress could have been. You are not fragile, drifting aimlessly through circumstance. You are not meant to be tossed around by irritation, fear, or disappointment. You are equipped with something stronger: awareness, intention, control. But these only come alive when you take the wheel. The difference between reacting and responding is only a single breath, but that breath means everything. Life won't ease up for anyone. It brings friction, delays, disrespect, and disruptions. While you can't dictate what happens, you can master how you show up. That is emotional fortitude. It's not about pretending you don't feel. It's about standing in the storm without becoming the storm. It's letting emotion pass through without letting it decide for you. Feeling without being consumed. That rare power makes you unshakable. Imagine someone insults you. Do you throw your piece into the fire just to retaliate? Or do you see their words as a reflection of them, not you? and keep walking? Not because you're weak, but because you're grounded. Because you've learned that protecting your energy matters more than proving a point. That isn't detachment. That is mastery. True emotional strength never dulls your fire. It channels emotion. It allows you to harness it and direct it towards something greater, your growth, your focus, your vision. When you stop being reactive, you become responsive. And in that space between stimulus and response lies your greatest freedom. This isn't about bottling up feelings or faking serenity. It's about realizing that your first feeling doesn't have to be your first move. You can feel frustration rising, acknowledge it, and still choose action over impulse. The world may poke, provoke, or push, but you decide what happens next. That control doesn't make you robotic. It makes you reliable, to yourself and to others. Now picture this. You're chasing something meaningful. Obstacles appear, delays, criticism, setbacks. Yet you don't spiral. You don't shout. You pivot calmly, adjust like a seasoned climber who knows the mountain may shift, but the summit is still there. That steadiness becomes your power. The one who feels everything without being ruled by anything doesn't just survive life, they command it. So ask yourself, are you ready to lead with strength instead of reaction? To act with clarity instead of chaos? If so, you've already taken the first step toward emotional fortitude. Discipline is freedom, though it's often misunderstood. People see it as a cage, a dull routine, a sacrifice of spontaneity. But that's only the surface. In truth, discipline isn't restriction, it's release. It frees you from chaos. It liberates you from inconsistency. And it hands you the keys to the life you truly want, instead of the one you're stuck reacting to. Picture a day where you don't wake up late, rush through tasks, or regret wasted hours. Instead, you rise early, your body alive with energy, your mind clear and focused. You know what matters, and you move toward it without hesitation. That isn't a burden, that's freedom. Freedom from distraction. Freedom from regret. Freedom from the haunting question, what if I had tried harder? Discipline gives you the power to lead yourself. While most people drift, ruled by moods or circumstances, you decide. You don't wait for the right feeling, you act regardless. That ability to follow through, especially when it's inconvenient, separates dreamers from builders. You show up when it's hard, when it's dull, when no one is watching. That is where the edge is found. Every choice counts. The time you set your alarm, the way you respond when you're tired, the decision to keep pushing or to take the easy way out. Each one is a declaration of the life you're constructing. You're not just living another day. You're laying the foundation of your future. And that foundation can be shaky and scattered, or solid and intentional. Which will it be? Imagine who you'd become if you kept every promise to yourself. If you trained your body even when you didn't feel like it. If you stuck to your goals despite moods or obstacles. How would that compound over time? The results would speak louder than words, not just in what you achieve, but in how you carry yourself. You'd stand differently, speak differently, not out of arrogance, but out of earned confidence. Think of the farmer rising before the sun, stepping into cold, wet fields, planting and tending without any guarantee. The harvest doesn't wait for their inspiration. The crop doesn't care about how they feel. And yet, the farmer shows up because the work must be done. Your goals are the same. They don't respond to feelings. They respond to effort. If you want a rare life, a life of true peace, deep fulfillment, lasting joy, then your habits must be just as rare. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency. It's about building a rhythm so steady that you move forward even on the hardest days. That kind of life isn't handed to you. It's built. And the tool is discipline. So, are you willing to build it? Are you willing to trade short-term comfort for long-term greatness? Discipline doesn't chain you, it frees you. It gives you back your time, your strength, your future. In that freedom, you become untouchable. Resilience shows itself in the face of setbacks. You try, you fall, you rise. Then something else strikes. Unexpected, unfair, unwelcome. And in those quiet moments afterward, when the noise fades and the dust settles, a small voice whispers, maybe this isn't for you. But you don't listen. Because deep down, beneath the sting of failure, you know what others often forget. Setbacks are not signals to stop. They are invitations to grow stronger. Every person you've ever admired, whether they built a business, wrote a book, overcame impossible odds, or simply kept going when others quit, carries a trail of failures behind them. More attempts than you've dared, more breakdowns than you've seen. Their strength wasn't born in comfort. It was forged in resistance. What separates those who rise from those who retreat isn't talent, timing, or some divine advantage. It's the quiet, stubborn decision to continue. Resilience doesn't mean you don't hurt. It doesn't mean the fall doesn't shake you. It means you refuse to let it define you. Every obstacle life throws is really a question in disguise. How much do you want this? And the answer isn't in your words, it's in your response. You get up, adapt, and move forward, even if you're limping. Picture a blacksmith, hammer in hand, shaping raw metal with fire and force. To the untrained eye, each strike looks like destruction. But it's not, it's transformation. That's you. Life hammers, and instead of shattering, you're being refined. Each disappointment is a burn that tempers your resolve. Each failure, a strike that sharpens your edge. You are not being broken, you are being made. What if failure lost its grip on you? What if you knew that quitting was the only thing that could stop you, and everything else was just a chapter, not the ending? Would you take more chances? Speak louder? Step further? Dare bolder? Resilience rewrites the story before it ends. It declares, this isn't over unless I say it is. You were never meant to crumble under pressure. You were built for the storm. And when the world underestimates you, good. Let it. You don't need the world's permission to rise again. You only need your own. If you can look at the wreckage of a setback and still whisper, I'm not done, then nothing can truly hold you. Because the truth is, you are not fragile. You've already endured moments that once felt impossible. You've survived days you thought would break you. Yet here you are, still breathing, still willing, still capable. That matters. So when the next challenge comes, and it will, you already know the answer. You rise. Maybe slower than before, maybe more bruised, but you rise. Not because it's easy, not because it's fair, but because resilience is not about being unbroken. It's about being unshakable. And you are only getting started. The courage to begin before you're ready. How many dreams have quietly withered while waiting for the perfect moment? How many ideas have died in notebooks, in conversations, in the safety of someday? It's easy to say, I'll begin when I'm ready. It sounds wise, even responsible. But time has a way of slipping by unnoticed while you wait for a moment that never comes. Readiness is a seductive illusion. It lingers just out of reach, no matter how much you prepare. One more book, one more course, one more conversation, and still the feeling never arrives. Because readiness isn't a feeling. It's a decision. It's the bold step into the unknown. Not because you're fully equipped, but because you've realized the cost of waiting is greater than the risk of trying. Life doesn't pause for your perfection. The days move on. The years pile up. If you're not careful, you may find yourself in the same place 5 years from now, still clinging to the same excuses, still waiting for the right time to tap you on the shoulder. But it won't. The world doesn't move according to your fear. It moves with or without you. And the longer you wait, the louder doubt becomes. Every person who has ever done something meaningful began in uncertainty. They started with shaky hands and half-formed plans. They weren't experts, they weren't ready, but they were willing, and that made all the difference. The truth is, no book, no mentor, no perfect circumstance can give you the permission you're secretly waiting for. The only one who can give you that permission is you. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a dense forest, the path disappearing into shadows. You can't see more than a few steps ahead. Fear whispers, what if you get lost? But there's another voice, quieter, yet stronger, that asks, what if this is the way forward? What if this is exactly where you're meant to go? That second voice is the one you follow. Not because the fear disappears, but because you've decided it won't be in charge anymore. You were not born to store potential. You were born to express it. And expression requires movement. You will make mistakes. You will face doubt, missteps, and detours. But none of these are failures. They are proof that you are alive and moving forward. Confidence, clarity, and skill don't arrive before you begin. They are earned because you began. What would change if you gave yourself permission to move today, as you are, with what you have, without one more preparation, without one more round of approval? Would the first step be perfect? No, but it would be real. And reality is where transformation begins, not in endless preparation, but in imperfect motion. The world doesn't reward those who wait until they're flawless. It rewards those who show up in spite of the unknown, those who dare to begin without a guarantee. The bold ones act even when their voice trembles and their hands shake. So ask yourself honestly, what would you lose by starting now? And what will you lose if you don't? Time will pass anyway. The question is, will you pass with it still waiting? Or will you finally say, this is my moment, and step forward? Not when you feel ready, but because you are ready enough. Mastery begins with thought. Guard the gates of your mind. The most sacred and powerful space you will ever be responsible for isn't your house, your bank account, or your calendar. It's your mind. It's the place where your future takes shape, where your self-worth is built or broken, where your habits are born and your identity is carved. Every great achievement begins there, and so does every quiet failure. Because whatever enters your mind, if left unexamined, begins to shape who you are becoming. Thoughts are not passive, they are seeds. And like seeds, once planted and watered by repetition, emotion, or attention, they grow. They grow into habits, into beliefs, into identities. A single negative thought, replayed often enough, can harden into a lifelong limitation. A single doubt, if accepted as truth, can alter your entire trajectory. So the real question becomes, who is doing the planting? Are you consciously choosing your thoughts, or are you letting the world choose for you? We live in a time when information flows endlessly. Conversations, headlines, and opinions constantly fight for space in your inner world. But your mind is not a public square. It is not a dumping ground for other people's doubts and fears. It is a garden, and if you don't tend it, weeds will grow. If you don't stand at the gate, distractions and distortions will slip in unnoticed, slowly overtaking your clarity. You can't stop thoughts from appearing. That's human. They pass through like clouds across the sky, sometimes dark, sometimes heavy. But you decide which ones stay. Just as you cannot stop a bird from flying overhead, but can stop it from building a nest in your hair, you cannot stop every thought from arising, but you can stop feeding the ones that destroy you. Suppose someone says something cruel. Do you let it replay in your mind over and over, each time sharpening its sting? Or do you recognize it as noise, uninvited and unimportant? When your inner voice speaks, does it echo someone else's doubt or your own truth? Mastery over your thoughts begins the moment you realize you do not have to believe them all. You don't have to believe everything your mind says. You can challenge it. You can redirect it. Your mind will accept what it hears most often. So if you constantly allow fear to narrate your story, it will eventually feel like truth. But if you choose your thoughts the way you choose your food, with intention and care, what grows within you will be strong, focused, and aligned with who you want to become. Sit with yourself in silence for a moment. Really listen. What does your mind say when nothing else is speaking? Does it encourage and support you? Or does it criticize and catastrophize? If it tears you down, ask, where did it learn that? Whose voice is it really? And more importantly, do you want to keep carrying it? This is the work of mastery, not perfection, but awareness. It's about choosing, moment by moment, which thoughts to keep and which to release. You don't need to control everything in the world. But if you can control the world inside your head, you become immovable. You become what you dwell on. So dwell wisely. Guard the gates. Train the voice. Tend the soil. Because your mind, when mastered, becomes the most powerful force you will ever possess. And then comes faith in the unseen, the invisible force behind persistence. There is a moment that arrives for everyone who dares to chase something bigger than comfort. It doesn't shout. It comes quietly, after the early excitement fades and the results are still nowhere in sight. You've done the work, you've shown up, you've followed the plan, and yet, everything around you remains still. No applause, no breakthrough, no reward, just silence. And this is the moment where most people walk away, but not you, because you know something they don't. You've learned to respect the invisible, to trust in the unseen. Some things must grow underground first. Take the tree. From the outside, it seems like nothing is happening. You plant the seed, you water it, you wait. Days pass, weeks, maybe even months, with no sprout breaking through the soil. Yet beneath the surface, something powerful is taking place. Roots are forming, strong, steady, deep. Roots that will one day support something great, something lasting. But first they grow in silence, in darkness, in secret. And so does your progress. You may not see the fruits of your labor yet. You may not measure the results of your consistency, but that doesn't mean it isn't happening. It is. Every time you refuse to quit, every time you show up when it would be easier not to, you are growing something others can't see. You're building a foundation. You're laying down roots. This is where faith steps in, not the kind that ignores reality, but the kind that trusts reality runs deeper than appearances. Faith is knowing that if you continue to give your best, the outcome will eventually align. That the universe, or life, or time itself is not ignoring your effort, but preparing to reward it when the roots are ready. Faith is not passive. It's not waiting and hoping something good will happen. Faith is action. Faith is labor. It's choosing to move forward when everything around you says stand still. It's persistence powered by vision, a belief that your time will come, even if today feels quiet, even if it looks like yesterday, even if no one else sees what you see. Ask yourself something simple yet powerful. If you knew success was guaranteed as long as you didn't stop, would you keep going? If the answer is yes, then act as if it's true. Let that belief shape your posture, your choices, your energy. Because the only real difference between those who reach their goals and those who don't is that the first group never stopped planting, never stopped showing up. They trusted the process long enough to see it through. Let others give up when things feel slow. Let them call it foolish to keep going when there's nothing to show. Let them walk away, believing that what isn't visible must not be real. But you keep planting, you keep rising, you keep doing the work day after day, even when it feels like no one is watching. Because you're not doing it for the crowd. You're doing it for the future, for the life you know you're capable of building. One day, the breakthrough will come. And when it does, people will look at you and call it sudden. They'll say it happened overnight, that it was luck, or easy, or meant to be. But you'll know the truth. You'll know how long you waited. How many times did you doubt, but kept moving anyway? You'll know about the roots, because it was never sudden, never random. It was faith. Faith in the process, faith in the vision, faith in what you couldn't yet see. So keep going, keep planting, trust the invisible. Your roots are growing, and your time is coming. This is the power of delayed gratification. Trading moments for mastery. In a world of immediacy, of one-click purchases, instant likes, and fast answers, waiting feels unnatural. Everyone wants the prize, but few are willing to endure the process. Fewer still are willing to walk past pleasure today to claim something far more valuable tomorrow. That truth is what separates the great from the average. Real success is slow. It demands the willingness to trade the momentary for the meaningful. Every day, you hear the soft, seductive call of comfort. Sleep in a little longer. Skip the workout. Buy what you don't need. Watch one more episode. Rest now, indulge now, enjoy now. The voice is always there, and most people listen, not because they're weak, but because gratification now feels more real than the possibility of reward later. But here's the secret. The people who win in any field are the ones who can pause, who can wait, who can say no for now. Delaying gratification is not self-denial. It's not punishment. It's a strategy. A quiet, powerful strategy that builds what no impulse ever could: discipline, control, and long-term gain. When you say not yet to something small, you are saying yes to something bigger. You're not missing out. You're setting up. Picture someone learning a skill, a craft, a language, a trade. At first, it feels new and exciting. Then comes the wall. Progress slows, frustration grows. This is where most quit. It's easier to chase something novel than to stay with something hard. But mastery never comes from bouncing between sparks. It comes from enduring the plateau, showing up when it's boring, staying when it's quiet. And every time you do that, every time you resist the urge to quit, you're building a future others won't reach, simply because they weren't willing to wait. Think about money. Maybe you're saving for something that matters, a business you want to launch, a property you want to buy, a future you want to secure. Yet every day, the world tempts you with reasons to spend it. Little luxuries, temporary highs, instant joys. But you resist, not because you can't afford them, but because you're aiming higher. While others buy the illusion of wealth, you're building the foundation of it. You don't trade your dreams for dopamine. You understand that patience today becomes freedom tomorrow. And here's what's rarely said. Each time you choose discipline over distraction, each time you delay instead of indulge, you're training yourself. You're strengthening a muscle most never bother to develop, the ability to hold out for more. That muscle, once strengthened, changes everything. It gives you power, not over others, but over yourself. And when you master your own impulses, you master your future. It won't always feel heroic. Most of the time, it will feel ordinary, quiet, maybe even unnoticed. You'll turn down temptations no one claps for. You'll say no when no one is watching. You'll work while others rest, and it won't pay off right away. But one day it will. One day, the compounding of all those decisions will break through, and people will call it luck. They'll call it talent. But you'll know the truth, it was earned. Not through sudden flashes of brilliance, but through years of restraint, through the refusal to give in when the easy road appeared. You chose the long road, the harder one, but also the higher one. So when that familiar voice whispers, "Why not now?" Just once, just a little, pause. Breathe. Remember what you're building. Remember why you started. And choose the voice of your future self, not your present craving. Because every time you delay what is easy, you give strength to the part of you born for something greater. You shape the life others only fantasize about. You trade moments for mastery, the strength of stillness. Calm is a weapon. In a world addicted to movement, stillness is a rare and potent force. Look around and you'll see it. People rushing, talking without listening, reacting without thinking. A frantic energy pulses through every room, every interaction. Everyone is trying to be first, loudest, fastest. But in the midst of that storm, the one who remains calm rises above it all. The one who remains still becomes the one who sees clearly, moves wisely, and strikes only when it truly matters. In the noise, calm turns into your weapon. Stillness is not laziness, nor is it retreat. It is not apathy or disengagement. It is presence without panic, awareness without urgency, power without performance. To be still is to be so grounded in yourself that external chaos cannot shake your inner peace. It is the strength of a mind that does not flinch, a heart that does not overreact, a spirit that doesn't sway with every gust of wind. Think of the strongest trees. They do not thrash wildly in the storm. They do not snap at every blast of wind. They stand rooted, flexible enough to bend, but steady enough not to fall. This is what you become when you embrace stillness. Not passive, but prepared. Not frozen, but focused. You remain unmoved, not from stubbornness, but because you've trained yourself not to be a slave to impulse. Most people live at the surface of life. They react to what is loudest, most immediate, most emotional. They hear words, but miss the meaning. They act quickly, but lose direction. They speak fast, but forget to think. But what if you didn't rush to speak? What if you paused before reacting? What if you stepped back from the frenzy long enough to actually see what's happening? There is wisdom in stillness. You begin to notice what others overlook. You see intention beneath words, motive beneath actions, opportunity hidden in challenges. Stillness gives you access to the deeper current of life that frantic energy never reaches. You start moving not out of fear or pressure, but in alignment with what truly matters. Stillness is not the absence of motion. It is the presence of mastery. It is the ability to choose your response instead of being dragged by reaction. When someone provokes you, stillness gives you the pause to hold back instead of lashing out. When anxiety rises, stillness helps you breathe through it rather than drown in it. When the world demands urgency, stillness lets you act on your own timing. Not out of avoidance, but out of wisdom. Imagine being the one in the room who doesn't scramble, who doesn't fight for attention, who listens more than they speak. And when they do speak, every word carries weight. That person doesn't need to prove anything. They are the proof. Their calm radiates. Their presence anchors the space. People trust them, even if they don't fully know why. It's because calm people are rare, and rare things are respected. Let others chase speed. You chase clarity. Let others burn themselves out trying to do it all at once. You conserve energy and direct it where it counts. Let others be loud. You'll be precise. In a world where everyone shouts, the one who whispers with intention is the one who gets heard. Ask yourself, what could you learn if you weren't racing to respond? What could you understand if you didn't interrupt your own thinking with assumptions? What could you accomplish if your energy wasn't leaking into things that don't matter? Stillness is not an accident. It is cultivated. It is chosen again and again, especially when the pressure mounts. It is not weakness. It is the highest form of discipline to remain steady when every part of you wants to react. It is control, not over others, but over yourself. And when you master that, you become different. People notice it, even if they can't name it. You begin to lead without trying to lead. You influence without forcing influence. You become a presence that calms others simply because you've already calmed yourself. So when the world grows loud, fast, and frantic, don't join the race. Don't match their chaos. Slow down. Anchor yourself. Let the storm pass while you stand firm. Because stillness is not an action. It is preparation. It is insight. It is power sharpened by patience. And when everything else is noise, your calm becomes your greatest advantage. You become the example, living a life that speaks without words. There comes a moment when you realize the greatest impact isn't made with a microphone, but with a mirror. Not the one you look into, but the one you become for others. In a world overflowing with opinions, declarations, and noise, the rarest thing of all is someone whose life quietly shows the truth they stand for without needing to explain it. People talk endlessly about what they will do, about what matters, about who they are, or what they believe. But talk is weightless. What gives a life weight is the quiet, unwavering consistency of aligned action. You don't have to convince anyone that you're improving, growing, or standing for something. You just have to live it, especially when no one is watching. That is what makes the difference. Every person you meet, whether they reveal it or not, is carrying something invisible: fear, doubt, fatigue. They are searching for proof that someone, somewhere, is living with discipline, with love, with integrity. They are scanning the world for signs that it is still possible to live a meaningful life in the middle of chaos. They may never say it, but deep down, they hope someone like you exists. Not someone perfect, but someone real, grounded, honest, awake. Will you be that person? You don't need a title to be a leader. You only need truth. Real leadership, real inspiration, isn't about position or recognition. It's about quiet example. It's about becoming the kind of person whose actions create ripples, whose discipline sharpens others, whose presence offers shelter in a loud, frenzied world. And that doesn't require permission. It only requires consistency. Think about someone you truly respect. Not someone who impressed you with words, but someone who lived in a way that made you want to rise higher. Chances are, it wasn't their speeches that shaped your view of them. It was how they carried themselves, the way they showed up, the choices they made when the easier path was right there. Maybe they never even knew you were watching, but you were, and it mattered. Now consider this. Someone is watching you in the same way. They notice when you rise early and keep your promises, when you finish the hard task without cutting corners, when you remain kind in the face of bitterness, or hold to your values when it would be easier to abandon them. They're watching when you say nothing, but your body language speaks integrity. They're learning from your example, even in silence. You become a lighthouse, not by flashing lights or sounding alarms, but by standing tall, shining steady, refusing to flicker when the storm rages. You become the example, not by forcing change in others, but by being so rooted in your own purpose that they are inspired to find theirs. What does your life say when your mouth is closed? What do your habits reveal about your priorities? When pressure rises, do you hold to the same values you speak of when life is easy? This is where example is forged. Not in highlight reels, but in the unglamorous moments that make up most of life. You don't need a stage to make a difference. The example you set in your home, your workplace, your community reaches farther than you realize. The child who sees you choose patience over anger. The friend who notices your steady commitment to growth. The coworker quietly watching your refusal to gossip. All of these moments become lessons. Each choice plants seeds. It's not about being flawless. It's about being real and consistent in that realness. It's about living in such a way that if someone followed you silently for a month, they'd know exactly what you stand for without needing to ask. That's the power of living aligned. You stop needing to convince people because your life speaks for you. In today's world, everyone has a platform. Everyone has something to say. But what the world is truly starved for is embodiment. We don't need more slogans, more lectures, or more declarations of virtue. We need people who quietly live their values in the background. People whose lives prove their words. And maybe that's your calling. Not to be the loudest in the room, not to always have the answers, but to live in such a way that others feel it in their bones. A life that, without asking for praise, inspires someone else to rise, to keep going, to believe that better is possible. You won't always see the impact you create. Often, your influence will remain unspoken. But make no mistake, when your presence is rooted in integrity and intention, It matters more than you can measure. One day, someone will point to you, not because of what you said, but because of how you lived, and they will say, "That's what it looks like." So keep showing up. Keep choosing alignment. Keep walking the path while others only talk about it. You are the example. You are the proof. Even in silence, your life is speaking. Wishing you health, happiness, and remember to subscribe to my channel, Mindset Daily.